Computer. There it
Okay.
goes.
Okay, great. Glenda, take it away. So I'm thinking about 20 minutes. I don't know how long you want your presentation, and we'll
My
let,
presentation will be maybe 5 minutes.
great,
Just
then we can take questions. Great.
yeah, so just to describe the effort. So I'm a volunteer with a new coalition in the community called Reinvest in Sacramento, and our goal is to work with the Sacramento City Council to adopt a socially responsible investment policy. And I came to this effort and this coalition through the Sacramento Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions and campaign and our regional coalition for Palestinian human rights. And so one of the things that all cities and municipalities have an investment policy, and it basically is a pretty boilerplate policy typically that simply gives direction to the city's treasurer on um, how this, kind of what their conduct and what their priorities will be, and as they invest city funds. So the city takes in revenue, it doesn't put it under the mattress, it actually invests it primarily in short-term corporate bonds. And those are very liquid types of assets. And as the city is spending money and according to its budget, then it's taking money out of that liquid bond market and paying its bills. But while the city, you know, whatever cash it has that it's not currently spending, then it's investing it to try to earn a return on that investment. And so the city's current investment policy is pretty generic. It just says invest, prioritize safety, security, returns on investment, and keep track of everything. And annually come back to the city council. So the treasurer comes back to the city council, gives a report on general performance, I guess, and how he or she has managed the investment portfolio. And then if there's any changes to the investment policy that the council wants to make, they can make it at that point in time. So this fall, coming up in the next few weeks or so, the city council is going to be looking at the investment policy, and the city treasurer is looking at um, uh, making some amendments to that policy that we've requested. And those amendments revolve around basically not, telling the city to not invest in tobacco companies, fossil fuel companies, companies that build and operate prisons, detention facilities, companies that, and this could include companies that profit from these activities as well. Companies that are supplying, resources and material goods for surveillance abuse, surveillance equipment that actors are using to, do extrajudicial killings and massacres and, what have you that way, using surveillance that way. This would include also not investing in companies that are complicit, meaning they're profiting from or they're supplying support for acts that have been designated genocide or apartheid. Companies that are involved in labor abuse. So that could be uh, not so much violations here in the US, but we're looking at more abuse, not paying people, trafficking people, things like that. So we're looking at that kind of range of things that we as citizens in the city are saying, this is our public money. It really represents our values. We willingly, or maybe begrudgingly provided to the city to do things on our behalf that makes our community good and makes our community a good place to live. And we feel that it's a good idea to have a socially responsible investment policy, particularly where it comes to these corporate bonds, because most corporations sell bonds on the short-term bond market. And so when the city invests and puts its money in corporations that are, part of these not positive activities, then we're kind of helping those corporations stay in business. So we can say something about that and send a message. Um, the socially responsible investment policy draft that we have presented to city council members and the treasurer for review and feedback also says, you ask the treasurer to look for and prioritize investments that could be made in companies here that operate here locally, or financial instruments or institutions that are doing good things in here, in the city, like maybe providing financing, housing, helping to finance things in our public transportation system, things in our education system. So we're also asking the city to look for those opportunities and put the bucks, where we can add some fuel and add some support with that investment. The city already, my understanding is that the city just sort of, I think with the current treasurer, or maybe it started with the prior treasurer, was already kind of on its own, not investing in tobacco companies, but it was never really built into any of the recent investment policies. And so that was one thing the treasurer was really interested in, is sort of saying, we kind of already have a sort of a consensus in city government with the council, like to not invest in fossil fuel companies and not invest in tobacco companies, but we've never really codified that. So that's why our suite of types of companies is comprehensive. So and then we don't want to keep coming back and adding things to the socially responsible investment policy, right away. And so we've tried to, our goal is to make that comprehensive with some common sense categories of manufacturing, operating, profiting from types of activities and products. And so that is it in a nutshell. I should add that the city of Oakland has recently adopted a very similar type of policy. Activists in Nevada County are asking Nevada County to adopt a similar type of policy. And there are other cities in California around the country that have adopted or are being asked to adopt such a similar type of investment policy, social responsible investment policy. And this also goes along with things that students are asking university administrators and pension funds to look at where those tremendous resources are actually being invested in until they're used. And so we believe that if we can get the city to adopt such a policy, then we are, again, it's another way for us as citizens, as people who live in a community that cares about things. It's a way for us to send a message and a signal to political leaders and companies across the country that we're not just, that we care about these things, and it makes a difference for us in our cities and counties. So with that, I will, and my ask for this group is to ask the neighborhood association here to join Reinvest in Sacramento. It's our coalition advancing this socially responsible investment policy. Ask for your endorsement of such a policy, and help communicate with your city council member, Eric Guerra, to support that one, and even join us at a meeting and communicating with Councilmember Guerra to ask for his support. And with that, I'll take questions.
Yeah, just use the raise hand thing. That might be the easiest thing, but I did see you, Rick, so go ahead.
Yes, thank you. My question would be, with the looming city budget deficit, it surprises me that there's any money left to invest. I heard that they were deep in debt in the order of $16 million or something in the current fiscal year. And the second question would be, hasn't this question already been handled or at least approached by CalPERS, who has massive resources to invest. Certainly must be massive, at least compared to the city of Sacramento.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you
So,
make an attempt to follow their model or their
well,
way?
fossil-free California, just on that point, has
Uh-oh, you froze. Oh dear.
had a long-standing campaign to persuade from fossil fuel companies. And there is a campaign that's bigger and broader than our city focused one that's focused on CalSTRS, asking CalSTRS to divest from kind of a similar sort of broad suite of types of companies. But we're focused here in the city of Sacramento because that's where we live, and that's our scope for our effort. The city, until it spends money, right? It's got to park it somewhere, right? So just like if you have some spare, just like all of us, money you haven't spent, you put it in the bank, or you do something with it, and then when you're ready to spend it, then you take it out and you spend it as planned. So this is the money that the city has. It's cash on hand, tax revenues coming in, and it's got to park it somewhere and be a good steward of the money. And so investing it in corporate bonds is a typical strategy that most municipalities do.
I had a couple questions on kind of following up on what Rick said. What is the amount that we're looking at that is invested? And then secondly, Glenda, I don't know if you can put in the chat the the link for the petition. I don't know if I can do that or
Oh, okay. I'll try to find that as we go along here. I don't know a dollar amount the city invests. It can fluctuate, right? Because this is not really like telling the city to invest or not invest. The city can still invest in corporate bonds. We're just saying please don't invest in companies that are involved in these kinds of manufacturing services that profit from these types of products or services. And there's a lot of well-vetted lists out there that the city can look at on an annual basis as it's looking to sort of see what, to keep an eye on what corporate bonds it's purchasing. There's a lot of really well-vetted information out there for all of these categories of types of profit-making activities. So that's not a problem. And even citizens here in Sacramento, if let's say you're concerned about tobacco sales, if there's some new type of tobacco product out there, you can bring, any one of us could bring to the city's attention, the treasurer's attention, a corporation that we would not want to have the city purchase corporate bonds of. And that would be, asking the city to remain in compliance with its socially responsible investment policy. So who's on the list of corporations, that the city would avoid, can change over time as corporations come and go, or things like that. So, yeah, in terms of how much, it's really, the city has invested in some different kinds of pools, but the corporate bond pool is probably where most of its investment activity goes, because corporate bonds are fairly liquid. So when it comes time for the city to pay, some regularly scheduled bill that it has, usually the city's paying off other bonds where it's borrowed money to do infrastructure work and things like that, then they can quickly liquidate a corporate bond and then use those funds to do what their budget says they're going to do. So
I think it's a great idea.
Patricia, I was just going to say, Patricia did find the link and put it in the chat. Francesca
thanks,
and then
Patricia.
Rick. Francesca and then Rick. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Of what Rick
I was
said
just going to
before
say
about
I'm entirely.
CalPERS. I just watched an hour and a half town hall with all the candidates for the CalPERS board. And
Yeah.
what they explained about the investments, and this is what will come up against with the city, but I got to give you the pros and cons. They said they have to keep the fund solvent in order to pay our pensions. And so that is their first concern. But the thing that also can happen, because somebody mentioned Tesla, is that if they have to also watch society, and if some investment gets toxic, well, guess what? It's going to go down. And so that is the argument on the other side, that they need to watch some of these things, because if people disfavor that investment, it might lose in the market too. So there's two sides to that one.
Yeah, and the social responsive investment policy that we have proposed does not prevent the city treasurer from making good investment decisions. It just says, please don't buy corporate bonds from these types of companies that purvey these types of things. And part of the city's current investment policy directs the city treasurer to maximize three things, basically: return on investment, security, say, so something, keep it safe, right? Like if Tesla's tanking, like let's get out of there, right? We don't want to lose money. And then I think liquidity, something like that. But the kind of same stuff that we would look at as people putting money in a bank or buying.
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Other questions? Well, I would suggest for the ENA that we make the policy available through the ENA bulletin and get feedback. We're not quite like Tahoe Park where we don't have paid members. Anybody in the neighborhood is considered a member of the neighborhood. So in the past, when we've had weighed in on policy issues, we have polled the neighborhood. We've done whatever that is, that's Survey Monkey, I guess. So I think the next step for us could be simply to inform people and then see if there's, put out the question, should the ENA take a position on this, give the information, give the link, to a copy of the policy and the petition. So that's my suggestion. I don't know if other board members have other thoughts or other.
Totally agree. Anybody else? Gordy, Patricia?
Gory's got thumbs up.
Gordy's got thumbs up.
Yeah.
I think Patricia would say yes.
Yeah.
I already put that it sounds good to me in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
see, I can't copy that link from the chat, so hopefully we'll give it to everybody in the bulletin.
And then the other thing, Glenda, is if people want more information, just making sure that we have a contact where, they can go if they, want to get involved or they want more information. So we could put something together in the bulletin and be sure that that is included. I mean, this is not new. Socially responsible investment is.
Yeah, it's not a new thing.
Yeah.
This is a tool that's been used over many important things. And it's a tool that it's a really important way to build or to demonstrate a public consensus around our values and that, things that we feel are destructive, we're saying we have consensus and we're adding to that consensus. And really demonstrating that we're not ignoring things, right, as individuals and as communities together, that we are watching. So
yeah, and certainly the city council makes policy decisions all the time, so it makes sense to make sure that the policy decisions they make are consistent with their investment policies too.
Yeah, exactly. So we want the city of Sacramento to be able to join with other cities and municipalities around the country, joining this consensus around saying how we think these important activities should be conducted. So on our behalf.
Yes, thank you. Before we wrap up, is there an email place where people can get more information that you can put in the chat? Or
yeah, I think that I'll give you mine. We're a coalition that's not very formal right now. We're really trying to build a coalition that will stay around so that we can always bird dog and keep track of things around this, and being able to support the city in bird dogging their investments. But the treasurer has been very favorable. The treasurer is interested in having something that, like I said, kind of codifies what his understanding as a city council has been interested in regarding tobacco and fossil fuel companies. And so it really seems like a good time to codify
Yeah, very
this
good.
general suite of activities of corporate activity.
Great.
Danielle, let me put my email address in here.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I think we can stop the recording now and move on to, thank you.